This is the complete First Communion journey. Practical tips for parents, organizers, and special extras that make the day meaningful. There is a moment every family remembers. A small hand tightening the hems of a dress, a child's breath held as a row of candles flickers, a mother smoothing a veil while thinking of her own childhood. If you are preparing for that day, if you are juggling catechism questions, rehearsal times, invitations, and the quiet ache of wanting everything to be both reverent and joyful, this guide is for you. I'll walk with you through the spiritual preparation, the paperwork and logistics that tend to trip people up, the little rituals that become lifelong memories, and the safety and emotional care that should never be an afterthought. Along the way, I'll share a few local traditions, small, warm pieces of folklore that inspired practical changes in our parish, always as cultural color and safety lessons, never as doctrine. When I say complete, I mean practical and pastoral, the things catechists wish every family understood, the things parents tend to worry about the night before, and the little extras that turn a proper ceremony into a remembered family moment. I'll also offer concrete tools you can use right away, conversation starters, a short rehearsal script, a printable timeline, and ideas for simple keepsakes. If a diocesan rule or a parish practice can vary, I'll mark that as indefinito, so you know to check locally. The first truth to hold: the sacrament is not a performance, it is an encounter. That should shape every decision you make about the day. Clothing choices, photography timing, the size of a celebration afterward, none of it should eclipse the child's understanding and reverence. Yet because we are human, and because life is busy, we need structure. We need timelines, rehearsals, one responsible adult assigned to watch the small things so the family can breathe. We need to know where to sign, what to bring, and whom to call when something falls through. Begin with why. Spiritual preparation is not a checklist to be ticked off. It's a conversation that opens a door. The catechism classes at church will cover doctrine, the what and the how, but the why often happens at the kitchen table. Short, regular family prayer times, simple explanations that match the child's age and attention span, and a few moments of shared silence are more formative than an hour-long lecture. Aim for clarity over complexity. Explain that the Eucharist is food for the soul, an invitation to belong to the community of faith, and a moment to remember Jesus' love. Use language the child will carry home. Instead of abstract terms, tie the sacrament to familiar experiences. Bread shared at the table, a circle of hands at bedtime, a neighbor helping someone who is lonely. Practical steps for spiritual readiness can be surprisingly ordinary. Start with a short series of weekly conversations in the months leading up to the ceremony. Each conversation can have a focus: what communion means, the words of the liturgy, how to pray before and after receiving, how to act respectfully in church. Keep these sessions short, 10 to 15 minutes, so they feel like a gentle rhythm rather than extra homework. Encourage questions and model honest answers. If a child asks something you're not sure about, say so, then offer to find the answer together with the catechist. That shared searching is itself a lesson. Create a small family ritual to accompany these conversations. It can be as simple as lighting one candle and saying a 2-line prayer before bedtime, or as intentional as a Sunday breakfast, where one person shares a thing they noticed about kindness that week. Rituals provide repetition and memory. They are how faith becomes ordinary. Teach a short blessing the family can use the morning of the communion. A few words any family member can say to the child before they leave. A blessing that grounds them in love rather than nerves. Keep the blessing brief, concrete, and affectionate. Include practice of the physical aspects too. Children respond to role play. A 15-minute rehearsal at home, walking down an improvised aisle, standing at the front, receiving a small piece of bread and a nod, will help many children feel less anxious. Keep it light. Praise the child for attention and quiet hands rather than critiquing posture. For children with sensory issues or strong anxiety, talk to the catechist early so accommodations can be arranged. Asking for small adjustments is not a failing, but a sign of care. Part of spiritual preparation is vocabulary. Use simple, repeatable phrases that the child can recall. We listen, we pray, we give thanks, we share. Teach the response phrases they will use in the Mass. Again, short and practiced at home. Encourage the child to think of one person they will pray for during the ceremony. A grandmother, a neighbor, a friend. This connects the sacrament outwardly. Communion is for the community, not only a private moment. A short family memory. When I was little, my mother would tuck a tiny note into my pocket before a big day. a phrase from a psalm or a blessing. I would find that paper at the end of the day, and it would feel like someone had walked with me. We don't need expensive keepsakes to make memory. A folded note, a shared song, a small family prayer become heirlooms. For one family in our parish, this became a tradition. Each child's communion day included a blessing note from a parent. Years later, those notes read like a small map of family faith. Catechesis goals, in plain terms, should be few and measurable. By the time of First Communion, a child should be able to answer 3 simple questions. Who is Jesus? What is the Eucharist? How do I show respect during Mass? These are age-appropriate anchors. Use stories and images from Scripture that emphasize meals, hospitality, and service. Picture parables, like the loaves and fishes. Translate abstract theology into tangible moments. Use tactile learning where possible. Show bread, explain sharing. Let a child fold a small cloth to symbolize reverence. Resources matter. Many parishes provide parent handbooks or short guides tailored for kids. If your parish offers such materials, use them as the baseline. If not, look for reputable family catechesis resources, simple prayer cards, child-friendly Bibles, and activity sheets that reinforce the themes of sharing and gratitude. If you're looking for one thing to bring to the family discussion, bring a story, short, vivid, and focused on kindness or service. Stories stick. Because every family's spiritual life is different, be intentional about family involvement. Invite grandparents or other supportive adults to be part of preparation if the child responds well to them. But protect the simple rhythm. Keep the core conversations with the parents or primary caregivers so the message remains consistent. If there are family tensions, aim to separate the logistics from the sacrament. The kid will notice stress. The gentlest gift you can give is calm. Practical catechist tips. Communicate expectations clearly. Catechists should give families a short list of what the child should be able to do and say by the rehearsal. Stand, sit, when prompted. Approach the altar in a group or individually depending on parish custom, and respond to the basic liturgical cues. Encourage catechists to use language parents can replicate at home. A 1-page sheet that reads, "Practice this at home. Walk slowly. Clasp hands quietly. Say this short prayer," will be used far more than a 10-page theological essay. Now, a small cultural note turned into practice. In our town, there was a harmless old story, grandparents' sort of folklore, about the nuns in black, who would remind children to be quiet and watchful. It was never about fear. It was a way neighbors taught children to pay attention in church. Over time, our parish adapted the lesson. For each rehearsal, a volunteer adult would escort the children from the sacristy to their pews and back, a simple safety and order measure inspired by that folk memory. The moral was practical. When adults are organized and present, children feel safer and the liturgy moves smoothly. From folklore to policy in minutes, use local tradition to spark concrete safeguards. At this point, it makes sense to step back and breathe. These early months, catechesis, conversations, tiny rituals, are the foundation. They also present the easiest places to relax into the process. A dry checklist cannot replace a daily, short moment of prayer. Yet checklists are useful for logistics, and later in this guide, I'll offer a printable timeline you can download to help manage dates, documents, and duties. If you want that resource right away to start organizing, there's a printable First Communion timeline and checklist in the description. It lays out weekly milestones from 3 months out to the day of, with prompts for paperwork, rehearsals, and meaningful family activities. That link will give you a framework to fill with your parish's dates. Remember, diocesan and parish rules vary. Some parishes require a baptismal certificate. Others ask for sacraments to be completed in a particular order. Where requirements may differ, I'll mark them indefinito. Check with your parish office if anything is unclear. Now let's move into the paperwork and logistics that tend to create stress on short notice. These are the details that make the difference between a calm morning and a frantic scramble. Begin with documentation. Most parishes ask for a baptismal certificate or a record showing the child was baptized. If the baptism was in another parish or another country, request a copy early. This can take time to obtain. If you were baptized in the same parish, the office will usually have a record, but it's wise to confirm as soon as registration opens. Note, some dioceses have specific forms or deadlines for sacramental registration. Check locally, indefinito. Registration deadlines matter. Small parishes may accept late registrations with a warning. Larger parishes often have set windows. Ask early about photos. name pronunciation practice, and any pre-service forms. There may be permission forms for photography or for including children's names in programs. If your parish issues printed programs, verify the spelling of names and any special dedications. Safety and permissions intersect with paperwork. For off-site celebrations, if your parish organizes a group photo in a public space or a reception in a hall, there may be liability forms or volunteer sign-up sheets to ensure adequate supervision. Even for modest family receptions, a quick conversation about supervision, who's the designated adult for the children, who handles food allergies, will prevent last-minute panic. Don't assume someone else has it covered. Assign roles and write them down. Scheduling the rehearsal is a pivotal moment. Find out who should attend. Many parishes invite the child, one parent, and any sponsors or godparents. Some parishes encourage smaller groups, typically no more than 2 adults per child, so the rehearsal is not crowded. Ask whether the rehearsal is full dress or partial. If veils and suits are required at rehearsal, confirm that with the coordinator so nerves aren't unexpectedly heightened. Clarify the rehearsal time and place and, crucially, how long it will last. Parents should plan to arrive early and to remain for the full rehearsal. Leaving a child early or returning late can create confusion. Roles matter. Who carries the gifts? Who serves as usher? Who helps line up the children? If your parish expects readers or gift bearers from the family, confirm those roles early and provide a short script or cue sheet. For example, if a family member is bringing the offertory gifts, give them the exact moment and wording so they don't feel awkward. Volunteers who help with lining children up are invaluable. If the parish does not provide them, ask trusted family members to step in. Photography permissions and timing are among the most common sources of friction. Many parishes have rules about when photos can be taken to preserve the sacredness of the liturgy. Some allow posed photos in the sanctuary only before or after Mass. Others permit a few fleeting photos during certain parts. Confirm the parish policy and then share it with the photographer and family. If the rules are flexible, set clear expectations. No flash during the consecration, no walking down the aisle with cameras during communion, and a designated window for staged family pictures. Encourage the photographer to arrive early and to scout lighting and vantage points so the formal photos don't bleed into the liturgy. If a professional photographer is hired, ask for a brief shot list. Family portraits inside the church after Mass, candid shots in the narthex, a group photo with the catechist. If the parish prohibits professional photography near the altar, plan an alternate group shot in a nearby garden or hall. For families on a budget, assign a family member as the photo captain, with a clear list of the photos you want. Child with catechist, child with godparents, multi-generation picture. When everything on the list is checked, you can relax and enjoy the rest of the day. Photo timing ties directly to liturgical respect. Plan formal photos after the congregation has received communion and return to their seats, or after Mass ends. This honors the flow of worship while preserving the memory-making moments. If you want a formal stage portrait in the sanctuary, check whether that is allowed and coordinate a brief window. Communicate these plans in advance so relatives arriving late know what to expect. A brief cautionary memory. A family I know arranged a group photo immediately after communion in the sanctuary without checking with the sacristan. The result was a hurried 40-minute session while the church was still settling. Visitors were displaced, an elective choir rehearsal had to be delayed, and the family was exhausted before their lunch began. It's an easy mistake to make. The ritual's sanctity is not an obstacle to memory. It's the stage on which those memories are formed. Plan photos with respect and with specific time limits. Paperwork and permissions extend to younger siblings and guests. If you expect many children at a reception, consider a simple badge system or a checklist for adults in charge so allergies and pickup arrangements are clear. If the reception is in a public space or a rented hall, confirm capacity limits and safety exits. Think through transport and parking. Know where buses or guests will park and whether crossing busy streets will be required. If your parish does not provide attendance for street crossings, consider asking a volunteer or hiring a temporary attendant for that stretch. A small investment in safety keeps the day calm. Rehearsal scheduling also interacts with classroom responsibilities. If the child misses a school day for a rehearsal, coordinate with teachers about any homework. Communicate rehearsal timing to grandparents and godparents so they can plan travel and attendance. Many of these details are mundane, but when they are handled, the day moves with grace. When they are ignored, anxiety multiplies. Who belongs at a rehearsal? Typically the child and 1 or 2 adults, parents, godparents. Younger siblings are often discouraged if the rehearsal space is tight or if their presence will distract. Explain this gently to relatives who want to attend. Emphasize that part of the rehearsal is to help the child focus. For extended family who want to be involved, offer an alternative, a brief meet and greet with the catechist before Mass, or a special row reserved for family. There are a few common administrative pitfalls families encounter: missing a parent signature on a permission form, not attaching a baptismal certificate, or assuming that a chosen sponsor will be present without confirming. To avoid these, create a small action sheet for the month before. Confirm sponsor attendance, secure all signatures, get the photographer's arrival time in writing, and drop off any items the parish needs, such as flowers or a donation. Put these items on your printable timeline and allocate specific dates for each. Small deadlines prevent large last-minute scrambles. A practical rehearsal script is helpful to hand to parents and catechists. It should be short and precise. Line-up cues, processional order, where children will stand, how they will return to seats, and the signal to receive communion. Keep the script in plain language. For example, line up at the sacristy door. Walk slowly down the center aisle with hands folded. Stand at the side of the altar until Father signals. Return to your pew quietly. Practicing these cues at home makes the actual rehearsal far more effective. One more community-led lesson, gently told. A local parish once noticed a pattern of very excited children running to greet relatives right after communion, sometimes knocking over a choir music stand or trampling a flower arrangement. It sounds small, but it raised safety and reverence concerns. The parish responded by introducing a single-word cue from the sacristan, announced at rehearsal, meaning hold position until the cue. It worked because it gave children a simple instruction they could follow and gave adults a clear expectation. From a story told in the parish hall grew a practical protocol that kept both flowers and reverence intact. As we move through logistics, keep one central posture. Preparation reduces stress and increases presence. The more you plan and rehearse, the more the family can be present for the sacrament itself. Think about delegating. One person for invites and RSVPs, one for transportation coordination, another for the reception food. Delegation is not shirking. It's stewardship of your time and calm. At the same time, be mindful of not turning the event into a competition. There is a quiet temptation to create a zippy social media perfect celebration that overshadows the sacrament's meaning. Resist that pressure. Scale according to what your family values. A modest lunch with intentional prayer and a shared keepsake often becomes a more treasured memory than an elaborate banquet. There's also the question of gifts. Gifts are a natural expression of love, but they can become overwhelming. Consider a simple guideline in your invitations. Your presence and prayers are the greatest gift. If you wish, charitable donations are welcome, or suggest small keepsakes like a prayer book. Some families create a communal fund for a charitable gift in the child's name, which links celebration with service, a meaningful alternative that teaches generosity. Before I go further into specifics on wardrobe, photography, and the finer points of etiquette, take a breath. We've covered spiritual grounding and the administrative backbone, the conversations that shape faith, the practical documents and rehearsals that shape the day. The next portion will dive into what to wear, how to handle photos respectfully, and how to choose keepsakes that matter without burdening your budget. There's more to say about balancing simplicity with celebration, and about the small local traditions that give the day soul. But first, let's pause on one practical checklist to lock in what we've learned so far. Confirm registration, check baptismal records, indefinito depending on parish. Schedule and attend the rehearsal with the child and one adult. Assign roles for reception supervision, and clarify photography rules with the parish office. When those items are in place, families report feeling an unmistakable lightening. The day moves from a looming event to a shared moment. You can actually enjoy a cup of coffee the morning of, watch your child take a deep breath, and know the logistics are taken care of. That's where planning pays off in presence. There are still choices to make: dress and comfort, where to place the family in the church, how to manage late guests, and they matter. How you approach these choices will shape not just the day, but the memory that lingers. Let me tell you about a small family detail that became a treasured tradition, and how attention to clothing and comfort intersects with reverence and safety. Then we'll step into the specifics: practical wardrobe advice, strategies for respectful photography, and ideas for keepsakes and certificates that honor the sacrament without turning it into a spectacle. Start with the outfit, because it's one of the first things people picture, and because comfort and reverence often live or die there. Choose clothing that honors the day, but lets a child move, breathe, and participate without distraction. For girls, a simple white dress or a modest skirt and top combination often works best. Nothing so tight that the child is worried about sitting, nothing so long that trips happen. A veil or headpiece is a beautiful option, but treat it like an accessory. Test it in advance so it stays put, and have hairpins or a soft headband on hand. For boys, a suit or a dress shirt with a tie and a jacket is traditional. Think layers for weather. Shoes are an underrated choice. Pick ones the child has already broken in. New shoes might look crisp, but blisters ruin mornings faster than a spilled cake. Plan for the weather. If there is any chance of rain, arrange a lightweight sleeve or a clean white cardigan rather than fragile fabrics that show water spots. If it will be warm, choose breathable fabrics and keep a spare handkerchief in a pocket to blot nervous tears. Consider a change of clothes for the reception if you want more freedom during the celebration, and pack that change in the car. Better to relax about grass stains than to spend the afternoon apologizing. Practical accessories are worth a short list: discreet safety pins and a small sewing kit, clear double-sided tape for veils or collars, a pair of neutral-colored socks or tights, an extra bow or hairband, non-glaring hair clips, and a small bottle of stain remover pen. Keep these in a small pouch for the parent who will be on call the morning of. Label it Emergency Communion Kit. It will save you stories later. A brief family memory that became a wardrobe rule. Years ago, a mother in our parish sewed a tiny loop inside her daughter's veil so it could be fastened to a small comb. No pins that snagged, no nervous tugging during Mass. The solution was simple, and from that year forward, several parents adopted the same idea. The lesson is practical. Test everything on a dress rehearsal day and carry anchors for wardrobe mishaps. Photography is next because pictures will be how the family remembers the day. Talk with your parish about photography rules early and put the photographer on the same page. If the church prefers photos only before or after Mass, schedule a 30 to 45-minute window and keep it tight. If the parish allows some photography during certain moments, agree in writing on boundaries. No flash during consecration, no walking up and down the aisle with cameras while people are receiving. A professional photographer should have a shot list in advance so nothing important is missed. Child with catechist, child with godparents, multi-generational family photo, candid moments before Mass, and a posed group by the sanctuary steps or in the parish garden. If you hire a pro, ask for a brief scouting visit so they can advise on lighting and placement. If you rely on family photographers, designate one person as the photo lead and give them the list. That way, everyone grabbing a phone for Instagram knows which shots are highest priority and which can wait. Respect the liturgical flow. The most beautiful portrait of the day will feel like it belonged to the worship, not to a staged production. Plan formal portraits either before the congregation enters or after Mass ends. If your parish allows staged photos in the sanctuary, agree on a strict 5 to 10-minute block so the building can return to its other ministries. Communicate with relatives. Print a small note for the pews, or have an usher announce the plan so grandparents don't walk in expecting an impromptu session. For candid photography, small cues help. Ask the photographer to focus on the moments surrounding the child. Hands folded, a friend's whisper, the catechist's encouraging smile, rather than just the static portrait. These are the images that will look like memory rather than display. And one practical tip: bring a portable reflector or white foam board if the day is bright. It softens faces and keeps squinting to a minimum. A short memory about photos. A neighbor once organized a beautiful outdoor group shot directly on the church steps, but the angle captured a long shadow mid-afternoon, and everyone looked tired. A quick move 10 feet left into open shade changed the mood of the whole album. The takeaway: test the light and the backdrop before telling 100 relatives where to stand. Etiquette in the church matters, and it's worth rehearsing at home with age-appropriate language. Teach children a simple posture. Listen with eyes and ears, respond when everyone else responds, and hold hands or fold them quietly. Explain that applause, cheerful shouting, or running down the aisle are celebrations for later. Show them what sitting still looks like with a short role play. 15 minutes might be the child's limit at first, so build up gradually if needed. If you expect family members to stand at the front or serve as readers, walk them through their role in the rehearsal so there are no surprises. Choose keepsakes that communicate the meaning of the sacrament rather than just the moment. A laminated prayer card with the child's name and the date, a small rosary or a cross, a printed family blessing folded and tucked into a pocket, or a certificate of participation in catechism are all simple but durable. Another idea: A memory envelope where guests can write a short note or a prayer for the child. These notes become a small archive of love and faith. Encourage families to avoid an avalanche of disposable trinkets. 1 or 2 thoughtful mementos hold more weight than a sack of favors. One family in our parish began the practice of planting a small potted plant on each child's communion day, returning to it each year as a reminder of growing faith. The plant sits on a windowsill in the child's room, and the family waters it together on the anniversary. It's inexpensive, and it turns a single day into an annual ritual. When it comes to the celebration afterward, decide early what you want the tone to be. A simple family lunch that centers around a shared blessing and a toast makes for calm memories. A larger reception is lovely, but it requires delegation and a clear budget. If you choose a modest lunch, consider hosting it at a home or a parish hall with a minimal table setup, simple flowers, a printed menu, and a small sign-in book for guests to leave a note. If you plan a larger gathering, assign at least 3 people to concrete roles, someone for food logistics, someone for children's supervision, and someone for guest coordination and parking. Delegation prevents the host family from working during their own child celebration. Budget is an ethical and practical question. Set a realistic limit and communicate it gently to family who ask how they can help. A common and meaningful compromise: invite guests to bring a dish for a potluck-style lunch and ask for prayers as the primary gift. If families want to give something more tangible, suggest donations to a charity chosen in the child's name, or small books of prayers rather than pricey presents. A modest budget often produces the most authentic celebration. Food safety is non-negotiable. Ask invited families to list allergies on RSVPs and assign one adult the role of food safety supervisor, who knows where the first aid kit and epinephrine auto-injectors, if needed, are located. Label dishes clearly and keep potentially hazardous items out of reach of small children. If hiring a caterer, confirm their allergy protocols and food handling credentials. For receptions involving many children, consider a supervised kids' table with simple activities, coloring sheets, a short story time, or a guided prayer craft, so the adults can converse without distraction and the children remain safe. A quiet family memory about celebrations. In a small parish, one family chose to forgo a large meal and instead gifted every guest a small packet of seeds and a note that read, "Plant hope." At the end of the day, the house smelled of leftover coffee and baked bread, but the seeds sat on the mantel as tiny tokens of a community rooted in faith. There are practical extras that make hosting easier: a printed schedule on each table with the day's flow, a designated coat and diaper station, labeled bins for children's belongings, and a short thank you card the family can hand out that includes a line about why the day mattered. For families worried about noise or overstimulation, schedule a quiet hour mid-reception where any interested guests join in a short family prayer around the cake or the keepsake table. Now let's turn to safety and emotional support, 2 areas where folklore and real practice meet. Stories communities tell about watchful neighbors or strange occurrences are often shorthand for old wisdom. Be present and organize responsibility. In our parish, a benign local tale of the nuns who measured silence became a gentle reminder to assign escorts for children during processions, and from that memory a volunteer escort system was born. Use those kinds of stories as inspiration for concrete measures. Designate 2 adult escorts per 10 children. Give each escort a simple badge so children know who to approach, and make sure every escort has a list of the kids they're responsible for. Create a pickup plan for after the reception. A buddy system, where each child is assigned to a specific adult who will bring them to the car, reduces confusion and the risk of children wandering. If your venue requires crossing busy streets, station 1 or 2 adults specifically as street escorts with reflective vests or a volunteer sash. For larger gatherings, arrange for a clear parking plan and possibly a volunteer directing cars so the parent host can be with the child. Prepare for emotional pressure. Children can feel a surprising amount of stress on a day that adults treat as important. Practice calming techniques in the weeks leading up: slow breathing, a short grounding prayer, or a favorite hymn practiced softly together. Role-play small scenarios that might cause anxiety. A well-meaning relative who wants a private hug at the wrong moment, a long delay in the schedule, or a shoe that won't fasten, and rehearse how the child can ask for help. Assign a single calm adult as the emotional buddy for the child, the person the child knows they can go to for a hug, a drink, or a quiet word. This is not the same as the logistical lead. It is someone chosen for warmth and patience. Accommodations should be arranged early. If a child has sensory sensitivities, request a quieter pew or a seat near the aisle so a parent can step out without a long walk. If sitting through a typical Mass length is difficult, speak with the catechist and parish coordinator about partial seating alternatives that preserve reverence while honoring the child's needs. Ask for permission to practice the Mass format at rehearsal with any necessary adjustments so the child knows what to expect. A short practical memory illustrating community vigilance. Once, after a string of late-night mischief in the neighborhood, older families in our town launched a simple street watch for the week of parish events. They paired up to escort young people to and from the church during dark evenings and coordinated phone trees for quick check-ins. The cost was small, the peace of mind was large. The story shows how community folklore, tales of watchful elders, can become modern practices of safety that matter on a busy celebration day. Now for the rehearsal script that many catechists and parents asked for, a tight, clear version you can print and hand to volunteers or tuck into your printable pack. Keep the language plain and the cues consistent. Practice this at home once and then at rehearsal with the coordinator. Line up. Assemble children in the sacristy or a designated holding room 15 minutes before the rehearsal start. One adult stays with the group. Another adult gathers names and confirms sponsors. Check shoes, veils, and pockets. Procession. Lead with the cross-bearer, followed by altar party and children in alphabetical or assigned order. Walk slowly down the central aisle. Cue. Walk, slowly, hands folded. Pause at the first step before the sanctuary so the children feel the change in space. Stand at the rail or side of the altar. Children move to their designated spots. Cue. Stand. Folded hands, quiet. The catechist or sacristan will demonstrate the expected posture. Practice standing and returning to the pew twice, with a short clap or nod as the signal for success rather than a long lecture. Receiving communion. Children approach in small groups if that is the parish custom, or individually if the parish prefers. Cue. Step forward. 1, 2. Receive. Thank you. Model the physical action exactly. Approach, bow. Receive the host in the hands or on the tongue per parish practice. If unsure, mark indefinito and confirm with the parish. Return to the pew quietly. Returning to pews, keep the same order and walk slowly. Cue. Back, slowly, sit, quiet. The rehearsal should emphasize quiet transitions more than speed. Practice one full procession and one full return. Special moments. If children will sing or present a short reading, practice the microphone use and the cue to start and stop. If the child will present the gifts, rehearse the walk to the sanctuary, the handoff, and the return. Closing. At rehearsal end, celebrate quickly with a short blessing or a family cheer that is not loud applause. Something small like a whispered, "Well done." This reinforces positive behavior and ends the practice on a note of encouragement. Include an emergency step in the script. If a child becomes overwhelmed, the adult escort should gently guide them to a quiet corner or to the sacristy and inform the catechist. This is not a failure. It is a kind, practical response. Pair the rehearsal script with a one-page parent sheet. Arrival time, who to bring, what to bring, baptismal certificate if required, indefinito for parish specifics, alternative contact numbers, and a reminder to silence phones. Keep that sheet as the single source of truth so everyone isn't checking multiple messages. Now the day of timeline, spelled out so you can print it and tape it to the refrigerator. This is the kind of practical tool that turns anxiety into presence. The timeline here is a guide. Adjust to your parish schedule. 3 months out, confirm dates with the parish. Begin weekly short catechism conversations. Secure a photographer or photo lead. Order attire if needed. 1 month out, confirm rehearsal time and who will attend. Check baptismal records and any required paperwork. Indefinito depending on parish. Send invitations with RSVP and allergy questions. Plan reception budget and food options. 2 weeks out, confirm photographer. Finalize the shot list. Confirm clothing fit and do a dress rehearsal at home. Print name tags or programs if using them. 1 week out, create the emergency communion kit. Prepare the child's rehearsal attention game. Confirm pickup plan. Finalize seating requests with the parish, if any. Prepare any printed keepsakes or prayer cards. 3 days out, confirm volunteer escorts. Pack the change of clothes. Label any gifts. Prepare the car with parking directions and the time buffer for traffic. Day before, iron clothes. Lay out everything on a single surface. Ensure someone is assigned to the reception's food and someone to greet guests at the door. Confirm the child has had a light, early dinner and a good night's sleep. Morning of, Breakfast with protein. Light prayer or blessing. Arrive at church early. Recommended arrival 45 to 60 minutes before Mass if photos or dressing is needed at the church. Otherwise, 30 to 45 minutes. Parent on call brings the emergency kit and the child's comfort item if permitted. 1 hour before, gather in the sacristy or holding room, check seating for family, confirm the photographer's position, and run through quick cues. 30 minutes before, final touch-ups, hair, veil, bow, quick breathing practice with the child. Offer water and a small snack if needed. 15 minutes before, assemble the children and practice the walk once more, focusing on calm steps. At Mass, follow the cues practiced. After communion, follow the agreed photo plan if permitted, otherwise wait for the designated time. Keep children close to adult escorts. After Mass, execute the photography window efficiently, then move to the reception or home. Assign a parent to greet guests and manage coats and gifts, while another adult keeps the child in a calm space for a few minutes to decompress. Evening of, share a small family reflection, one thing that stood out, one person to pray for, and tuck any notes or guest messages into the memory envelope. Packing checklist for the child and the parent on the day. Outfit and spare outfit. Shoes and spare socks. Tights. Veil or headpiece and spare pins. Small snacks and water. Comfort item if allowed. Child-safe sunscreen if outdoor photos. Small handkerchief. Printed blessing note or prayer card. Baptismal certificate if required. Indefinito. Phone charger. Cash for candles or small fees. Emergency communion kit, safety pins, stain remover, tissues, pain reliever dosage for children if prescribed, adhesive bandages, contact list of adults responsible for logistics, and a printed map of where family will be for photos and reception. For food allergies, pack allergy-safe snacks and mark plates clearly at the reception. If anyone in the family requires medication, make a plan for administration, and keep a parent or entrusted adult responsible and informed. Emotional check-ins are short and powerful. The night before, ask the child 2 simple questions. What are you most excited about? And what are you most worried about? Give short, honest answers to their worries and reframe them into manageable actions. If you feel nervous walking up, squeeze my hand and take 1 deep breath. Keep the child's voice central so they feel they own the day. Consider a small private ritual to anchor the morning. A 2-line blessing from a parent. A thumbprint on the inside of a keepsake card, a short song sung together at breakfast. These are the things that feel small in the moment and enormous later. Transitioning toward the ceremony moment itself, imagine this scene. Light filters through the high windows, a hush settles over the nave, and the child walks slowly, not because of pressure, but because the family has shown them how to move with attention. The catechist nods, the priest offers a brief smile, and there is the simple exchange. One human heart, another presence. This is the peak of the journey, the moment every preparation has quietly aimed to hold. At this peak, the most practical checklist items matter. The child knows where to stand, the adult escort stands a step back ready to offer support, the photographer respects the sacred boundary, and the communication from the sacristy gives the clear cue to proceed. The sacristan's single-word signal, practiced at rehearsal, can be the anchor that keeps the procession disciplined and calm. If anything unexpected happens, remember, an adjustment is not a crisis. Slow down, breathe, and act with tenderness. After communion, give the child time to process. A few minutes of quiet in the pew with a cherished adult is often more meaningful than immediate applause or runs through the narthex. Let the child name one person they will pray for that day and encourage them to fold that into a family prayer later. This small act anchors the sacrament in a posture of intercession rather than performance. Now, a practical set of special extras promised in this guide. Tools you can actually download and use. The celebration pack I mentioned contains a printable rehearsal script, the one you just read, formatted for easy printing, a family blessing card template, a 1-page parent cue sheet for the rehearsal, a printable timeline from 3 months out to the day of, a packing checklist, a photo shot list, and suggested wording for invitations that emphasize presence over presence. There's also a short list of kid-friendly activities for the reception, simple prayer crafts, a memory card station where guests write encouragement to the child, and a quiet corner with soft seating for children who need a break. These are practical extras. Take them, adapt them for your parish rules, and use them. Before I close, a final note about folklore and the way communities remember these days. Local stories often carry useful warnings in small packages. They are shorthand for older generations' experiences. When you hear a tale about watchful neighbors, odd occurrences, or stern elders, translate it into a clear action. Organize volunteers, assign escorts, or set a family rule. And you make the memory practical. Treat folklore as cultural color that inspires safety, not as supernatural truth. In the week after the communion, keep the momentum gentle. Gather for a short thank you gathering with a few close family members. Print 1 or 2 favorite photos and place them in the child's memory envelope, and revisit a favorite moment in conversation. Some families begin a yearly ritual on the anniversary, lighting the same candle, reading the same blessing note, or sending a postcard to the catechist. These small repeats stitch a single day into a lifelong narrative. If you want a short blessing to conclude your family's mourning or to use privately, here is a simple, non-proselytizing blessing you can say aloud together. May you go with peace in your heart, courage in your steps, and a memory of love that follows you every day. Amen. Use or adapt it to fit your family's language. The point is to create a moment of quiet gratitude before the celebration begins. I want to close with a pastoral encouragement. This day is important because it marks the slow work of belonging to a family, to a community, and to a faith that says we are fed and sent. The details matter: paperwork, rehearsals, parking, and photos, but they are instruments to a larger purpose, to help a child know they are seen, loved, and accompanied. If you walk into this day with humility and planning, you will protect its reverence and multiply its joy. If this guide has spoken to you, download the celebration pack in the description to get the printable timeline, rehearsal script, packing checklist, and keepsake templates, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future resources for families and parishes preparing these sacred moments. Thank you for letting me walk with you through the complete First Communion journey. May the day be gentle, memorable, and filled with the quiet presence of those who love you.